Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have touched down in Nakuru region for the Great Debaters Contest. It's season 7. It's going to be great. And I am Austin Nyumbo.
And I am Mariam Bashar. We welcome you to the show with Kongasis High School going versus Ndururumo High School on matters that touch on sustainable development goals. We are asking if poverty is the main cause of insecurity in Africa. We'll have these teams answer that question now. Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Do you call poverty a crime? Before you shoot a big yes, let me help you out. Yes, worst of all crimes. Philip Macharia from Ndururumo High School, ready and strongly willing to propose the motion that states poverty is the leading cause of insecurity in Africa. In a nutshell, let me commence by quoting from the Oxford Students' English Dictionary the meaning of these two basic words: poverty and insecurity. Poverty means the state of being poor, while insecurity means the state of being unsafe, not sure of your confidence, not sure of your liberty or peace. Poverty generally means the state of lack, deficiency of resources, deficiency of dignity, ethics, and transparency in governance, deficiency of intellectual knowledge in learning institutions. I have no iota of doubt that everyone will join me in today's motion to support that poverty is the leading cause of insecurity in Africa. Lyle Brainerd, a great scholar, once assumes that poverty exhausts governing institutions, depletes resources, crushes hopes, fuels a volatile mix of desperation and instability. It will be, and for me, it will be inevitable for me to explain to you how poverty has caused insecurity without explaining to you how this great peril has caused us those great challenges. 1, financial security as caused by poverty. We've seen in our country, especially in our country, Kenya. 1, due to our purchasing power is very low, we cannot be able to support our local industries, especially those in export processing zones. Due to poverty, we have made, or we can only afford dumpings. We cannot be able to buy clothing from our local industries. Now, my question is, how will these workers from those local industries survive without us, as Kenyans, supporting them? Tell me. Let us be natural and let us be real. And let us all stand and say that poverty is the leading cause of insecurity in Africa. Let me take you back in 2010. In Tunisia, December 18th, a fruit vendor burnt himself up in public. A reason being that a police officer confiscated his fruit cart for not having official permit. A sole breadwinner to his family burning himself up in public. Tell me, if the fruit vendor was financially stable, could he have burnt himself up? No. Health insecurity as caused by poverty. Poverty, or for instance, I'd like to ask you a question. How many of us can afford balanced diet from year to year out? You've seen poverty has caused us hunger. Poverty has caused us malnutrition. This is how poverty has deprived us of our great future ahead of us. In our country, or in our continent, we have in our continent, we have bitter men and women who are suffering from poverty, and they have bitter minds and they are very angry because of this great peril. Thank you.
Thank you. Opposition, you have the floor. You have 3 minutes.
I'm here to oppose this motion that says poverty is the leading cause of insecurity in Africa. I'm Hamala Oronga. I'll start by saying this. Poverty is not the only cause of insecurity in Africa. I'm going to start my first point, also natural calamities. Natural calamities include things like bushfires, floods, and so on. I'll start by saying about floods. I'm sure all of you watch televisions. We heard that in Mombasa, floods were there. Floods that affected lives of people. First, insecurity is the emotion, mental, and physical confidence. These floods affected them emotionally, physically, and even mentally, because they lost their lives. Second, they lost their properties. Maybe they had farms, so they lost their products. This leads to insecurity. At my second point, I'll start by poor education system. Poor education system has led to insecurity, whereas we have found that in such a case like in JKUAT, a gentleman I think, who eventually was discovered that he is the one who invented the rob of banks, stole millions of people's money, leaving them in insecurity. The man is not jailed, he's just there. He has sold so many things. He has made even the country economy to be low. Let me assure for you that insecurity is not only the cause, poverty is not only the cause of insecurity in Africa. Thank you.
We'll hear rebuttals, beginning with the proposers. You have 3 minutes.
I am totally allergic to the air that our opposers have just left here. Air that is full of lies. Air that is full of misconceptions. Let us take it like this. They have just told us that poor education has led to insecurity. I would just like to challenge them by asking them this question. What has led to this poor education? Is it not the lack of our security? Is it not the lack of our money to provide the necessary facilities to our schools? Is it not lack of funds that we can support our schools so that we get better people from our education system? Another thing that our opposers have just told us, that is a lie, that we can control, is floods. Let us talk about floods. Floods is something that you can control if you have money. If you have money, you can be able to relocate those people from those areas. You can be able to relocate those people from those areas which are suffering from floods. Take them to other areas instead of those people dying there. But if you lack funds, what will you do? Floods will just come and make us die. Why I'm saying this, that poverty is the major cause of insecurity. First of all, from Ndururumo High School, my name is Lois Waitiki. Proposing the motion. Strongly proposing the motion that goes, poverty is the major cause of insecurity in Africa. Let us take it in this way. Poor governance. Our government is poor in governance. Let us take it like this. Our government cannot be able to equally distribute the resources that we have. It is giving more resources to other places than other places. This in turn brings calamities. This in turn brings conflicts among regions. You get some regions fighting against the government, asking them, why are you not doing this? Just because of their poor governance. Just because of their poor governance. And when you have political instability, unless they are not human beings, will you feel secure? When you have political instability, everyone fighting everywhere, fights everywhere. I don't think there is anyhow you can get security, you can feel as if you are safe. Another thing is social insecurity. Poverty. Every time. We find street children all over the places. We find street children forming gangs that come disturbing us all the way. People tracking you every time as you move, just because of poverty. They cannot afford to get themselves basic needs. That's why they have to follow you, even even though they can use force just to make sure that they have taken what will help them. But if we did not have poverty, everybody could be able to sustain himself. Everybody you could not even think about other people's property. You'll always feel safe. Also, another thing, our families, parents are crying every day. Why? Poverty. Parents are going everywhere drinking in the local pubs. When they come home, just because of just because of depression, they come home every time fighting their families, fighting their women. This in turn makes their family feel feel insecure. So I think you should help me come together to join our hands so that we can eradicate this poverty that is becoming the major cause of insecurity in Africa. Thank you.
Opposition will hear your rebuttal. You also have 3 minutes.
Judges, opposers, proposers, and all members in this house. First of all, I challenge my brother by asking him a question. If people are really employed, will we have wars? We can't. Second, you have said that poor governance. I think you have supported us, opposers, because this poor governance is led by leaders the leaders in the country whom we have, because they are rich, and then they are not giving us security officers to secure us. Yet you are saying poor governance. I've come to oppose the motion that says poverty is the leading of insecurity in Africa. I confidently disagree with that, because poor governance can lead to insecurity in Africa, whereby our government leaders that we have in countries in Africa are not very concerned with people. You get that they are not giving us security officers to secure us, whereas there is malicious peoples who can harm us. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the audience for those questions. The proposers have been asked that they stated that people who are poor do not have access to education as a result, but what about public schools? And the opposition have been asked to explain the link between floods and insecurity. We'll have them clear up those points now. Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes.
Brian Agade from Ndururumo High School is my name. I would like to answer your question. About how do poverty lead to people not going to school? Actually, we are talking about the levels of education in our country. We are talking about the way some schools really need money. For instance, in my place, we don't always have money to fund students who go to school. For instance, maybe schools need money for examinations, for trips, for food in schools, for every other thing. But people who are poor, who cannot afford that money, cannot be able to take their children to school. So that is how poverty has led to poor education systems in our country. For instance, how can a government be able to pay teachers yet they are poor? How can a government be able to fund enough money for free education when they cannot even fund money to give food to other people who are drowning in the country? So we are talking about poor education system, as well as children who are coming from poor backgrounds cannot go to school. That's it. Now, on my fellow opposers, you're talking about how poor governance is favoring you. We're talking about poverty. Poverty simply means lack of something. Now, according to our first proposer, he defined poverty very well. It is a state of being poor or a state of lacking something. Now, if you have poor governance, it means that you lack the good governance. Poverty has led to military insurgency. For instance, a government which cannot be able to pay allowances well to their military, a government which cannot be able to raise enough funds to buy equipment for wars, it means that the military will be inferior to the country. The military will tend to oppose the government. And that way, if the military is not on the government side, it means that the country will have rebels which will come erupt up and distort the security of the country. That is how poverty has led to insecurity in our country. The second thing is about debt burden. How did you feel the first time you heard the news that Kenya has debts for trillions in financial places like the EMF? We are having a lot of debts as a country. That means that we cannot be able to pay our debts. This has led to psychological torture. For instance, how did you feel first when you felt that even an unborn child in our country still owns a debt to the government? It is very bad. In fact, poverty is just the main cause of insecurity. That is psychological insecurity. Now we are talking about food insecurity. For instance, our opposers asked on how say that floods can bring up insecurity. In a country which is rich, a country which can be able to control its funds, it means that they are able to. They have placed ways on how to curb natural calamities. That means that a country which is rich can be able to control natural calamities. Instead of us arguing on how poverty is not the major cause of insecurity, we should be arguing on how can we control poverty so that we may have sustainable development. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
I'm Lucy Karanja from Congasis. I'm here first to answer the question to my brother. You asked about floods. When we first defined what is insecurity, it is the state of lack of emotional and physical confidence. So when floods occur, people are emotionally and physically not confident. Okay, to my brother, you have talked about that poor governance. We see in our country, many of the people who are rich, we have talked about the poor governance. Many of our leaders who lead us, they are the one who are leading us in things like demonstration, which they make people to fight. That's leading to insecurity because when they are doing that, so many people will be harmed. Thank you.
We'll hear closing submissions. Proposition, you have 1 minute.
Once, Nelson Mandela said that education is the only weapon that can drive away poverty. You said about poor governance. How can we have effective governance if our people or if our leaders are not educated? Let me explain to you what we are discussing. And I hope, it seems like you never did your soul searching well. It seems that you're not giving us sensible points that shows that poverty is not the major cause of insecurity. Let me ask you a question. For instance, why are you in schools? You're in schools because you're suffering from mental poverty. Our continent, Africa, it's full of bitter men and women who have resolved to bury their anger in self-pity, in drugs, in alcohol, and immorality and crime. This is all and has been brought about by poverty. To my opposers, please give us sensible points which shows that it's not poverty really has brought this insecurity. I hope we should join hands to eradicate poverty so that we can be able to have sustainable development in our continent, Africa. Thank
you. Opposition, you also have a minute for your final submission.
I'm here to oppose the motion that says that poverty is not the only thing that causes insecurity. Also, there is HIV and AIDS. Parents are dying and leaving their children insecure. When parents die, their children are left to suffer. That's causing insecurity. To my second point, poor moral values. Some people, whether they are poor, whether they are wealthy, they only want to get the good things. And so they are not giving they are using fights in order to get whatever they want, just because they are rich people. Thank you.
Philip, that was a very good start. You're a very strong speaker. I noticed that. And that was commendable. Your style and presentation, your mastery of language and passion as well. However, I thought you would work on just the mastery of topic. There was a bit of, we could tell there's a time when you lost the trail. And so that brought in some weakness in terms of the argument that you brought in. But however, that was a good start for you. And thanks for introducing the ranges, especially financial insecurity. Lewis, good cross-examination, very strong. I think you are free. You come to the stage and you could tell you're very original in what you're doing. And you also brought in the social insecurity aspect. Brian as well, good speaker. I love the fact that you ended very well when you were, although you were time bad, but you ended very well linking it to the SDG that we're talking about. However, you want to exude confidence with eye contact when you're speaking to people, all right? It tells us that you're convinced of what you're talking about. So it's good for you to look at us.
Kongasis, Aronga, you started off very well. Your voice was well projected. You had very good points, though they need clear explanations or evidence. Mumbi, fairly good cross-examining, but you were too brief on your points. Kindly work on that. Lucy, you need to do more research on the points. Just like Mumbi, you were also very, very brief. And the answering of the questions was not very clear. All the best to either teams.
Kongasis, the tone is official. The tone is official. Remember, this is about the SDGs. We are trying to do something for our country. Have a formal tone as we are discussing these serious issues. Ndururumo, in your presentation, some uniformity, like the girls are, would do some good, you see, so that you're a bit uniform. I am impressed by both teams, and all the best to you. Thank you very much.
Kongasis High School, you have 51%. Kindly give them a round of applause. Your opponents, Ndururumo High School, have 60%, making them the winners of this debate.
Congratulations to the two teams on stage. We appreciate their good work, and we also like to thank you, members of the audience, for being very active, and also our sponsors, Blaze, Safaricom, and please stay tuned. I'm Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bashar. Keep watching.
Let's talk about the SDGs, yeah? Your motion was about poverty, yeah? What do you personally believe we should do to eradicate poverty fully?
I think first of all, the government should try to provide the necessary. The government should try to enhance its transparency, so that at least you can see what is happening in our government. And when you see what is happening to our government, maybe you can find that some people are corrupt. This corruption makes our government poor, and also I think the gap between the rich and the poor should be decreased, so that at least we can enhance development together.
Our leaders should not be such greediness, because I think our leaders are the ones who bring poverty, and they can eradicate it by employing jobless people and stop that greediness, especially for power.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.